Hey guys, what's cracking? What a week in Star Atlas. So what I'm going to go through today is a few of the highlights of what I've noticed through the week. There were several podcasts, interviews, of course, Wags the Busy Man, Town Hall came out, so we're looking at that. Also, Tokenomics, they were listed. Really, really big week. So I'd like to first thank the community, special mention to Puppadine and Wales Friend, of course, have really helped. I've had a lot of suggestions, a lot of information, offers of help, and it's really cool. Like I've enjoyed what I've done so far, and I'm not too stressed about the fact that it's a bit rough. I mean, look at this face; it's going to be rough at the start. What I want to make sure is that I'm getting the content that's as relevant as I think, with a little bit of fun and laugh, and of course, the good-looking Aussie beard, and just see where we go from there. So I'll clean it up as I go along, and I'll get time. So when I'm at work, it's a little bit harder. To do. So, I mean, let's have a look here. Great to see that the Star Atlas website has been updated. They've got the posters now in order. You have to keep in mind that reward level 1 is still wrong. That's for reward level 0. That gives you your tier 0, and the next two got you the tier 1. It was a bit confusing, but that's so much easier to see. You can also go to your ReBirth, see what your tiers give you. This is all going to start becoming more important because obviously things like your mining drills, mining stations, claim states, these become more relevant coming into the mini games and things like that. So really, really big week with the launches mentioned. Something I haven't done so far is talk about coins specifically. I tried to stick away from that at the start, but I don't really think that's going to be doing the information justice if I don't mention that as well. So what I want to get into is a couple of examples this week is that FTX Radium, they've both gone up with Solana this week, but it was Apollo X is the big one I noticed was 56 cents when I first looked at what is Apollo X. Binance Chain Launchpad going via the paid tokens. And you actually do need to pay for your tickets with BNB, I think it is. But you use paid. They've got two launch platforms that do it: 750, 1500, and then 4500. Different tiers. Now it's per ticket, but it's also first in, first serve. Whereas FTX and Radium both go off you get tickets, you go in a draw, and it's raffled out. So FTX are a little bit more expensive per coin because obviously you use, does it say it here? No, but you use 5 FTT and they get burnt. So it does add a little bit, but I mean, FTX, you get a ticket there, it's money for jam. So yeah, three really big things. Other things I've noticed is audio. So the Audius project, that's tied in very heavily, gets mentioned a whole lot, is getting a lot more support. They did have an announcement this week, but I do feel that that's going to be tied in heavily. And gamification, they're going to create a lot of extra feeding into other platforms, other projects. Look at what was I just had the name in front of me. Fabricant. So they did the Ustar challenge, which was about the clothing, online fashion. I know there's more than just that for the actual Fabricant platform. They did a special airdrop as well. The price at the moment was around 9 cents from a free airdrop. So, you talk about a few $100s here worth of value, but the project itself looks good. I did watch a little bit of the video for that, and it was cool. So I think I will try to add more information on these tokenomics and stuff as I see them, but I don't want to center everything around that, and I don't want to make it financial advice. I just need to kind of, if I see the information, then I think it's important that we add it in. So let's get into the economics and the white paper for that was listed. 38 pages, I believe, not that hard to read. You can go through it. A lot of the pages are quick. You can scan through it. Big information on the your skill trees. So they mentioned about the training in that is going to be unlocking perks and bonuses from their skill tree that can be purchased with Atlas, thus providing benefits both individually and collaboratively. Now, what I don't know, is this going to be pay to win, where you spend extra and it boosts it quickly? Hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they put it on a timed system, so there's not going to be stupidly unfair advantages for the whales. and it goes through like that. That, I believe, is how Eve worked. It was a time-based system, and some of these things took a very long time. So that was on that. There are going to be a whole heap of different skills, from being a mining engineer, being a builder, being an artist, being an entertainer, pilots, combat, being explorers. There isn't enough information on it yet, but something that Star Atlas do say is that they're building the ship as they fly. So they are absolutely going to give us the information as they have it, and they do a good job of teasing us along every week, and doing that. But there's going to be the three large groups of mechanisms connected with the economics. That's production, piloting, and the overarching. So I will just scroll through the paper because I'm going to stuff myself up with some of these notes I've got if I do it differently. But really, really cool. So you look at that, there is a lot of things coming out where you can see these on Twitter. Again, good suggestion for Twitter. Jump in there. You're going to see a lot of extra things just spammed out as people think they're relevant. Extractors gets a good mention. Extractor is a building that has to be purchased or produced prior to installation. There are also power requirements filled by power producing buildings that have no running costs. So if you have a look at your tier zeros, you get a claim stake, mining station power plant, mining drill, and an orbital space station with a trading deck. So that's got its own power. But the GAO will come out, and then if you buy a mining station, then you're going to need power to go with it. Maintenance costs, land value tax. It's got a special mention in the town hall today. Land value tax is going to be super important. They don't want to have whales buying up land and just leaving it empty and not using it and just keeping that, because have a look at these online games. A lot of them, the land is becoming huge value. Alien Worlds is a big one. $10,000 for one piece of land on that. Just stupid money, and it's for a silly game. But they're going to be land taxing. So what that might do, and I'll get into it later in through my notes, but you're still going to have whales buying these land products. Any game that comes out, whales would be silly if they didn't. But what that might create then is they need to go out and employ someone to manage and mine said land, then creating economics and jobs and things like that. So refiners, your refiners and that can get higher levels. We've seen some photos and stuff, artwork come out for multiple mining stations set up on planets and stuff. It was pretty cool. Builders, I think, are going to be similar to, if you have a think about World of Warcraft, you get weaponsmiths, Burning Crusade, you get the mace crafter, the axe specialist, you get all these specializations. I think guilds are going to be very big on this, and trying to spread out, having their builders specializing in certain trees, because if you get a guild, DAC, clan, a group, organization that can do all of that amongst themselves, it's obviously going to save them money in trading. Research and development is going to be huge, or alchemy they call it. So where players experiment with different combinations of refined and raw materials in order to produce new technology. Technology in that early on, especially in the game, will be amazing. So game economics, explorers, they'll be super important. Executive roles, utility roles, so they talk about fighters. And again, they go into more detail about this. I don't want to go too long into these. It's definitely worthwhile getting out there, doing your own research, reading these things, having a bit of fun with it as well. Tokenomics is super important to mention. So you've got the two different types. Polis, that's your political. So actually go to the, comes from a Greek state of the Pole. So that's how the Greeks called them back. Sort of city-state was what a different sort of word for it is. That's going to be your political, the running of the DAOs. Now that breaks down into, I think, 3 points, which is, where is it? You've got your external DAO, which is based on the polar system. Then you've got your factional DAOs, and then you've got the regional DAOs. So they'll break down, but Polis is going to be the way that the game is run. You might want to go through another faction zone. You might pay them a little bit of Polis to get through there safely with no incident. Other ways of doing it. Atlas is going to be the in-game payment token, that's going to be 100 times more Atlas than Polars. And everything that you need to pay for, the fuel, if you drill bits on your mine stuff out, um, everything you're paid for, entry into concerts will be paid for via Atlas, and it will be huge. So they do mention, where are we? Here's some numbers. 360, what are we looking at? This will be Polars. So 360 million Polars tokens. 2% of the tokens are launched in next week. So you've got 1% getting launched on FTX, and you've got 0.5% being launched on Radium, 0.5% being linked on the Apollo X. There's some numbers here, but private token sales, all that kind of stuff. The big one worth mentioning is the 30% team. So this here, that's super big. So they've said they want to be running the DAO for 3 to 5 years, which makes sense. They don't want a single faction getting control and sucking the life out of the game to benefit themselves and their own faction. They want to control it and set it on the right path. Now, I think these had some kind of a vesting with daily linear unlock otherwise. 2-year vesting. So that was that. But then what was interesting with the Atlas, I'll go through here, the teams are only taking 5%, which was a really cool way to go. They're concentrating on running the actual game and not letting it get fucked up. And they're only taking 5% of the Atlas, combating that. So they're not double dipping and trying to take out more. That's really cool. Like, I was impressed. Obviously, it's worth highlighting, it's worth thinking about, but it is so cool. It's definitely worth having an idea of Atlas. When the mini game comes out, we will be able to start doing some missions, start accruing some Atlas. We won't be able to mine straight away. I don't really know how the land staking is fully going to be done at the start. So I think you'll be able to mine, but you're not actually going to be getting your stake claims of the land. That's going to go through some kind of an auction system where people can bid on it. So it's going to be more blockchain, more out there for people to sort of bid on it, much like the Bonefeeder naming service. You can put out a name that you want, but someone can snipe it in the last 20 minutes, which did happen to me on one of them. The life cycle, tokenomics, where are we? There was something really cool in here about non-monetary assets, tokenomics, Star Atlas, technology, mining, combat, tokenomics on the land. So we did talk about the land value tax, and that's going to be super important. It'd be interesting to see how they assess it, how much the land is taxed in comparison to what you earn, because then you're going to also have local governments taxing as well. So yeah, land will be, if it's not, if the taxes aren't paid, then they'll get frozen out, and eventually it may actually get repossessed, sold, the fines paid off, and then anything left over go back to the original owner. I wanted to skip through, not the governments, but you do see that breakdown there of the Star Atlas DAO, the MUD, ONI, and the USTA. Star Atlas DAO, let's see if I can skip through to it. I wanted to talk about the mega projects. So there was a mention here of mega projects, which I haven't seen anything of this yet. And it just sounded really cool. So what they were talking about was the mega projects. Each faction is going to have a chance at creating something which will push their faction up, maybe give the whole faction some kind of a bonus, mining bonus, combat bonus, things like that. It may be a way that they can introduce content to try to bring a faction that's struggling up to date, but then it's going to also put a target on that faction's special project. So what else did we have? We had the FTX podcast. Now that was with Wags as usual. You can download that on podcast. It was a good 57 or something like that. So they talked a lot about the three races, and it being a little bit different than just a standard Alliance versus Horde in your World of Warcraft, where you've got your ONA, your Ulster, your MUD, and if one faction's getting too big, then the other two factions may team up against it. So it's more of a triangle. You know, you've got your 3 points. There's not going to be any fixed boundaries. So just your security zones at the start. Think of those as your green zones. That's where green people are going to be able to get in there and learn the ropes, so to speak. So they're going to be able to get out, learn how to fly, do some initial looping sequences to understand how to fly ships. We're all going to start there. I may be there longer than the average person, so that is cool. A lot of talk has been over the uh, the limitations and the limited ships, land spaces, and all of that kind of stuff that talks towards how we help the deflation of Atlas. So when a ship in PvP is attacked by another ship and one's blown up, that goes into parts and parcels, and then the person that destroyed it, they'll take away some winnings from that, and that means that that NFT is going to be destroyed, and it's going to make everything else more scarce. The scarcity is going to increase, and there's going to be a push up in price, possibly for the other NFTs. So, I mean, there was something mentioned in the FTX podcast about that, where the assets are going to be rare and limited assets. That's a direct quote. So they're trying to make sure that it's well economically driven and there's potential to make money and keep the valuation. They don't want to saturate the market with just selling thousands and thousands of ships that aren't needed, oversold, and drive the prices down. So one other interesting part on that podcast was a talk about how where are we? They're not too stressed at the moment about if they overbalance any of the ships. So if they do overbalance it, they talked about how they can just transfer the asset's metadata into a new asset with new metadata, make the old one obsolete, and then the new one usable in the game. So they're going to be able to rebalance as they go apart. And this is where the DAO will actually come in. They will put forward these votes, and they will then vote if they see that Mud has a ship that's much too powerful. Then they can vote to change that. If it passes, then obviously it will change the game mechanics, and they'll do that. There's going to be a lot of these kinds of things. We've seen it in many, many games. They rotate through characters. They wrote special things. I played Clash of Clans for 4 years, and there was constant retweaking of characters, of special new things, bonuses. They wanted to push something. They wanted to spend money on certain things. Then they change it. They boost it up. I've mentioned that. One little thing, I guess, to talk about would be the esports. Have a look at how much money has been spent on advertising, buying the League of Legends, spending time on the money there. And not only did they purchase the naming rights for TSM, but they've now had to go and link up with Riot Games and make a nice little money donation there. This, to me, Star Atlas is going to be, it's probably going to be one of the very first real potential chances to see some kind of esports. So you've got anything from pod racing to Mech Warriors to a Mech Warriors styled 5v5 team sports. If we're looking at League of Legends, 5v5, $1 million per player prizes, I don't even know if that's current. They probably get paid more, but they are paid squillions of dollars. There's so much support. There's so much money. As a gamer, I can see it will make sense. Now, talking about the town hall today, one of the really big things was they talked about, I did mention earlier, was the LVT, the land value tax. Now, this is where it might tie into something that is kind of like Axie Affinity, where people can't just afford these Axies to breed them. They've got to have someone sponsor them. They've got to have that. So that may come into Star Atlas, where they need to have the whales are then hiring out those land parcels, and they might create 4 or 5 jobs on a dirty great big mine. So as the mines grow in size, the land requirements become more, and it's returning more, potentially adding more jobs out there for the system. So another thing that was mentioned was people were worried that the GAO will sell out in the first day. I don't think I really saw a great answer to that today. So watching some of the other launch games that are coming out at the moment, shit is getting bought. I saw Keiju Cards, 28 seconds, 1,000 unique addresses, 28 seconds. So This is probably one of the most premier talked about games that I know of. I'm heavily invested in Star Atlas. I'm keen as fuck to see the game go well. Um, I think if you want to get something in the GAO, you need to be prepared. You need to get out there and do it. Now, let's wrap all that up for now. Big announcement from Interstellar Alliance this week. They have teamed up with Great Protocol. So there's going to be a lot of information about this. I won't make this super long, 20 minutes now. I've just noticed the time. They are linking up with Great Protocol. So there's a lot of things to read on that. One of the super cool mentions were they talk about using a portal. So in space, you're going to be able to have gates that take you from one spot to another spot, super quick speed. So they're going to ticket these gates. And where is it in here? They talk about how it's just like catching a bus, getting a taxi, things like that. Now let's play something here from Egan. This was a super cool, why is it not playing? A super cool video. This is Egan on video. He said it's his voice.
Life is about connections. It's about people, choices, and dreams. From muck to shore to sky, the same pull that drew us from mountain to mountain now leads up, from the pale blue dot to undiscovered stars. As we covered our mother world, we crafted links, roads for untold billions to follow. Now, in this metaverse, we do the same. We know not what we'll find, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the discovery. What matters is the persistence, the drive to push the boundary of knowledge, the scope of understanding, and the light of hope ever forward into the void. Connecting the metaverse is our destiny.
That is super
Claim
cool.
your
So
place
impressed.
in history.
Now,
Claim
you'll
your
see
place
Egan Act here
in the Interstellar
on Twitter.
Alliance.
Go and give him a follow. He's awesome. He links into it. Very busy, very active now. For Interstellar, over 600 people on Discord. Whether they're all active or not, who knows? The game's still in preparation. But guilds are going to play a super huge part of Star Atlas. They're going to help make the trade. They're going to create these big battles. There's got to be guilds out there that just want to go and grief people and cause fucking havoc. And that shit'll be cool. It's open. You just don't know what Wall Street Bets is a good example for something in recent history. You don't know what the people are going to do. There might be unsettlements. There might be, they see something happening, so they rally up and go and just grief them, cause a lot of dramas. So I'm going to leave that there. What was really cool was I was watching a little bit of a doco the other day on the Coaties, and just seeing this little part of the video, it tied it in neatly to the last video I've played.
It's recently been discovered that working together to ward off predators, find food, and raise each other's kittens has increased their brain power. The part of the brain normally associated
really
with social
cool.
activity in primates
Guilds
is
are out
bigger
there
in
having a bit of
coati
fun with the
females
game.
that
It's
band
not just
together
going to be
than in
about making
solitary
profit.
males.
For some people, it will be.
But don't worry, the
For some
males
people, they're
are
going
doing
to
just fine.
invest wanting to just be by themselves or in a smaller group and being that quiet, making their money, moving on. But there's going to be so many different aspects involved. And yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and please, any information, any suggestions, drop them down below. And thank you, Mother, for the rabbits.